What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe.
The Saints running backs should be a lot better this season, and that's kind of where I wanted to go this segment. Last segment, we talked about Olave and the injury to Trey Turner. What should be better for the Saints this year, no matter what, independent of what happens with Alvin Kamara and his situation, is the running game. That's something that needs to improve. And you look at the last 2 years, since Drew Brees left this offense, they haven't been as good. They were 6th back in 2020, the Saints' last playoff appearance, and I don't know if they need to be that good at running the ball, but they need to be better than 19th, which is what they were last season. 2 years ago, they were 15th when it came to rushing yards per game, and the run game needs to come along this season. Derek Carr is going to help a lot. He's going to hopefully mask some deficiencies in your offense, but you need to be able to rely on your running game a lot more, especially in the early downs. And we know Kamara is a good runner. I honestly think he's a little bit underrated as a between-the-tackles runner. He had close to 900 rushing yards last year, and that's after missing a few games. You know what you have with him, but the backfield this year should be so much better than the backfield last year and the last couple of years, because if you just think about what you had in 2022 at running back for the Saints, you had Alvin Kamara, but behind him, you had Mark Ingram, and this is an older, kind of washed-up Mark Ingram, and then you had guys like Eno Benjamin and Dwayne Washington, which is a huge drop-off. This year, going into 2023, you have Alvin Kamara. Yes, he may be suspended, but you're going to have him for most of the season. Ooh, we went over for the use of the first use of the cough drop there, Taylor. I didn't use it till 7:39. Giving myself a pat on the back. But last year, Alvin Kamara, old Mark Ingram, Eno Benjamin. This year, regardless of what happens with the suspension with Alvin, you have him, you have Jamal Williams, and you have Kendre Miller. And hopefully Taysom Hill is a factor too. You need to utilize him a little bit better than they did last season, in my opinion. But like we said, Derek Carr will be a big improvement there, but there needs to be a lot of emphasis in improving the run game too. And I think the Saints are trying to do that this season.
Yeah, no, they definitely are, because, before they drafted a Kendre Miller, you're like, okay, this offense could be really good if Alvin Kamara gets suspended. Kamara, no Kamara, all three of these guys are going to be involved some sort of way. I mean, you mentioned Kamara, obviously the great hands out of the backfield, maybe underrated a little bit between the tackles. Then you bring in a bona fide between the tackles runner in Kendre Miller, who, in my opinion, was probably the third best running back coming out of the draft this past season.
You think so? You saw a lot more TCU than I did, man, honestly. Like, I saw him towards the end and in the title game, and I know he was really good enough to make people transfer, like, to Ole Miss, like one of their players did. But do you think he can come in and have an impact immediately, kind of like Alvin Kamara did coming out of Tennessee?
I really do, because, while he had a ton of yards and touchdowns, he didn't have a lot of wear and tear on him. Max Duggan was able to spread the ball around to guys like Quentin Johnston. That whole offense last year was underrated. I know against Georgia they got shut down a little bit, but Miller barely played in that game because of an injury. And I'm not saying it would have made a big difference, but it's not like they shut Miller down. He didn't play in that game, and I do. I think that his pass-catching ability is a little bit underrated, and it's not really his fault. That offense did not ask him to catch the football. It was a lot like when Leonard Fournette was coming out and everybody was saying, well, he can't catch the football. Can he not catch it, or did he just not catch it in the offense? I mean, there's a difference. And then Jamal Williams, same thing. I think his pass-catching ability, very, very underrated. We saw it for years when he was in Green Bay. He was pretty much the receiving back instead of Aaron Jones. And then last year, he showed he could be that every down back. So, I mean, I think you got three guys that, while they're all very similar, they're all good at different things in their own right.
Yeah, Jamal Williams is a beast. Like, the Saints are just benefiting off of a situation that's similar to what they went through with Mark Ingram a couple of years ago. Like, just a little bit of money, like, made a big difference. It was a difference between Jamal Williams re-signing with Detroit and finding a new team. And at the end of the day, what they ended up paying on Montgomery was not that big of a difference. So I think the Saints kind of just got lucky there. They got Jamal Williams for good value, and you know what he brings to the table. That's a veteran. That guy scored 17 touchdowns in the National Football League last year. You know what you're going to get out of him. But Miller, to me, is interesting, and I'm agreeing with a lot of what you're saying, Taylor. To me, it reminds me a little bit of Alvin Kamara coming out of Tennessee. Like, he showed you can catch the football, but they definitely didn't utilize him to his full potential, and then the Saints did. And I know Sean Payton's not there anymore, but Pete Carmichael's still there. Pete Carmichael coached guys like, Darren Sproles and now Alvin Kamara in the modern day, and hopefully that helps with Kendre Miller. And for what it's worth, I liked his attitude. Like, he was asked about contributing early. He was asked about possibly taking snaps away from Alvin Kamara, and he was basically like, yeah, I'm cool with that. I'm coming for him. I don't care who's in front of me. I'm going to show out from the start, and I'm going to make an impact as a rookie. So hopefully he does.
No, look, this is a guy that had over 1,500 all-purpose yards last year and 17 touchdowns on a playoff team in a Power 5 conference. I mean, the guy can play football. I do. I like Jahmyr Gibbs. I like Bijan Robinson. And then right after them, Kendre Miller was my guy. I mean, when they got him in the third round, I think I texted you that night.
You did.
When they got him in the third round. And I was like, Mario, your team got a hell of a player in the third round of this draft. I'm excited about him. And yeah, regardless, Kamara, no Kamara, I think the running game is going to be fine.
Yep, Saints fans excited to see what they have in the backfield this season.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.